back at Sundance again. I'm Elysabeth Alfano, host of the TV show, web series, and podcast, The Celebrity Dinner Party with Elysabeth Alfano on WGN Radio. So I gotta confess, for this podcast film review, I had super low expectations going in. I'm talking about the film Search with Debra Messing and John Cho. But what I thought going in wasn't what I thought going out. Before we get into it, let's get to the socials. As always, to keep up to date with my celebrity interviews, you can subscribe to me on iTunes and YouTube at The Celebrity Dinner Party with Elysabeth Alfano. And check out my other YouTube channel at Fear No Art with Elysabeth Alfano. Of course, there's always Facebook under my name, and Twitter and Instagram at Dinner Party CHGO, and when in doubt, hit up thedinnerparty.tv. Okay, folks, it's search time. Let's break it down. So Search is a thriller chase film that is played out completely online. Through animation, the director Aneesh Changaty rebuilds a computer interface, and on a computer screen, we see a father chase down his daughter's kidnapper by conducting Google searches, basically. Now that sounds boring to me. Doesn't that sound boring to you? I guess it's because that's my life already. I just Google things all day long. And so that just sounded like something I didn't want to sit through for an hour and a half. But the truth is, from the minute I sat down, I was gripped. And this film is truly my one big surprise at Sundance. And the passion for this film comes through from the 24-year-old first-time director. Aneesh Changaty told me of his incredible dream story of how he had a super cool job and then he got an even cooler one. I'm going to let him tell you everything about how he became a feature director and how he created his completely technologically original take on this murder mystery thriller.
So basically, I was working at Google when I kind of got the opportunity to make this movie. I was writing and directing their commercials, and the opportunity to make a short film that took place on a computer screen, a short film, opened up through Boslow's, which is the production company that made this movie. And basically, we kind of pitched them our idea for the short film, which was an 8-minute version of the movie that is premiering tonight.
Search.
Yeah, Search. Yeah, nice. And they really liked it, but they loved it as a feature more, and they wanted it to make it into a feature.
So that's everyone's dream.
It's everyone's dream, and I said no in the room to it, which was just like this really weird moment because Sev was next to me and I could just feel him going like, "What are you doing? What are you saying? Like, what's going on?" But for us, it felt like, or for me particularly, and then Sev completely agreed with this, that it felt like we were kind of stretching a concept if we were taking 8 to 90 minutes instead of expanding on it organically. And then over the course of a few weeks, we kept thinking about it, and slowly we came up with something that didn't feel like a gimmick, felt cinematic, felt emotional, felt like more than anything a movie. The only challenge was how the hell we would actually pull this thing off, because it's a very unconventional movie that takes place entirely on computer screens. So.
That's right. So explain a little bit more about that. I understand that this thriller, Chase, father who had his daughter goes missing, he does a search for her completely online.
Yeah.
But how do you film that?
It's a combination of live-action filming and animating a movie. So it's basically like we made an animated movie, shot a live-action movie, put the live-action movie within the animated movie, and then started working on that animated movie. It's animated because everything that you see on a computer screen has to get recreated again. So basically it took us about a year and a half to edit the movie, as opposed to a normal movie, which takes about 4 months. So we were constantly like editing and like refiguring things out and changing things, and it took a very, very long time, but we finally got to the end product. And I'm so happy and proud to be here tonight.
Of course you are. And did you have to stop work from Google?
Yeah, I quit my job to make the movie.
Feels even better, doesn't it?
I mean, I thought about it. The first time I was like, man, like, I'm 24 years old. I work in New York City at Google. Like, is this the life that I want to give up? And at the end of the day, I just love movies. And so, like, I was like, screw it, let's do it. So I quit my job, moved from New York to LA, and immediately started working on it with Sev.
And then you got Debra Messing attached. So how did that come about?
Debra Messing, so we cast John and then we cast Debra. We sent the script through her people to her, and immediately she responded to it. I thought Debra was one of the most inquisitive actors before even we got on set, asking questions about this and this and this part of the plot and this part of the plot. And she, at the end of the day, I think every actor regardless of the level of quality caliber of craft that they bring to it, and both of these actors bring a very high caliber of craft, they all kind of share this like willingness and bravery to kind of just go into the dark on this movie, because this is not a movie you can just tell somebody and they'd be like, yeah, I know exactly how that's going to play out. You know, it's so new and it's so weird that you kind of have to just be actors who just like trust Sev and myself and trust myself.
So there had to be a leap of faith, but yet, as you say, this is your first feature.
Yeah.
What do you think it is that convinced both of them to come over to you?
I'll let them answer that particularly, but I hope, when I get excited about an idea, I get very animated and passionate, and I really, really, really believed from once we started committing to this idea that this could be something that people hadn't seen before. And I think just making John and Debra as aware of that possibility was my job early on, and then clearly it worked to some capacity, but credit goes to them, though, for their bravery.
So you are a young director, as you say, at 24. What are the words of advice that you would give to other struggling young directors and old established directors?
Yeah, for me, I broke in through a short film. The only reason I worked at Google is because I made a short film that took place on Google Glass when Google didn't ask me to make it. We just had a glass, and I shot it over the course of 10 days by myself with Sev. We put it online, and it went viral, and Google gave me a call and asked me to work for them. And then it was because I was working at Google that I got the opportunity to do this. So for me, the advice that I always give is start short, try to get the attention of somebody through a short film, and then slowly work your way up. It's really, Sev says it best, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And we are, as long as you're kind of just slowly progressing up, from short film to even commercials or whatever, just the opportunity will come eventually to make a movie.
Sounds wonderful. Congratulations to you.
Elizabeth. I really appreciate it.
And what was even more fun is that immediately before the film started rolling, it was announced that Aneesh had won the Alfred P. Sloane Award for Outstanding Feature Film focusing on science and technology. It's just great to be around when someone who's so young and still so bright-eyed and excited about everything, to see his determination and his enthusiasm rewarded. And what was also cool is that he wasn't the only one of his team who was awarded something. You heard him mention in his quote there that his pal, Sev, was working on the film with him. In fact, Sev Ohanian is a producer on the film, and Sev had also landed something great. So it just felt like a true Sundance moment when these two unknown underdogs, kind of underdogs because they're financed by Google to make this film, so they're not that under, but they are unknown. They're completely unknown newbies, and they both take home something huge and really launch themselves at the festival. And that just feels like what Sundance is really all about. So here we have a clip from Sev, who gives me a little bit of advice. Congratulations. I understand that you are the proud recipient of a new Amazon Award. Tell me all about it.
Oh my God. About 5 hours ago, the Sundance Institute Amazon Studios Award ended up being mine, and it was insane. I've been coming to Sundance now for 6 years. My first film was Fruitvale Station, and every time I would come to Sundance, my first year I came here, I was so excited about getting into all the exclusive parties and all the events, and I got into none of them. But the one event that did have me come was a producer's brunch. The Sundance has this every year that they celebrate the producers and the work we do to support our directors. And one of the things at that brunch is they always recognize one producer for narrative and one for documentary. And when I first heard that, this year they were going to be rewarding me, it honestly broke me, because it was that award, that function, surrounded by my peers. It was insane. The entire theme of my speech was, crediting the producers who had taken chances on me. And I think for me, having the award now, I find it to be my responsibility moving forward to take chances on other producers.
Wonderful. What words of advice would you give to young startups?
Oh my God. So the words of advice I'm going to give, and I'm going to try not to be fluffy, if you know what I mean.
I do.
Number one, self-educate. There's no excuse nowadays to not have read every book on filmmaking, screenwriting, producing, financing, read every article, read every blog, listen to every podcast. I'm a huge believer in consuming all of that education. Rule number two, and I know this one sounds a little bit cliche, I might be breaking my rule about being fluffy, but find an amazing team. Producing is impossible to do alone. I made my first movie when I was 18 years old. I was a writer, the director, the producer, the editor, and I was I had a makeup artist, but she quit, so I did the makeup too. But I learned in that experience that making movies alone, and especially producing movies alone, is impossible. So rule number two for me, find that team and stay close to them. And then rule number three is, this is also really important, and I'm totally breaking my rule, by the way. Rule number three is make sure you guys have a collective vision. Filmmaking is not an auteur, art, in my opinion. I think it's a collaborative one. And if you're a producer, you have a good filmmaker, you have a good producing partner, you have a good team, that I believe more than anything else is going to, give you good results.
That sounds wonderful. Congratulations again. Thanks for speaking with me.
Thank you.
So now I think I wasn't the only one to think that this wasn't going to be that interesting of a film, because this particular red carpet was pretty empty, which allowed me to really take the time to talk to the actors, which was something great and kind of rare. So actor John Cho was there, and I usually think of him as a comedian because he, coined the phrase MILF in the original American Pie movie. He's also part of the on-screen duo of Harold and Kumar. But he has a serious side to him, and he commented on his first dramatic role and what it was like working with first-time director Aneesh. John, why did you decide to work with Aneesh? Because this is his first film.
I generally, I don't think about first, third. It's just if it's exciting, if it's the people match. I've had 2 films back to back at Sundance, and they've been some of the best things I've done. When people are ready to tell a story, you have to. The time is right.
And I think of you really as a comedic actor, but of course this is a very different kind of role and very different kind of film, a thriller, a search film, obviously. So how does it feel to play that kind of role?
How does it feel to play that kind of role? I just like participating in an interesting story, be it comedic or dramatic, and I'm comfortable doing both. And if the audience accepts me, then great. I'll keep jumping back and forth if I can.
And what did you learn from working with Debra on this film?
Debra is like a very serious actor, and sometimes I'm a little loopy and goofy on set, and I was like, oh, she's got her process, and it's always inspiring to watch someone who's disciplined and has a method.
Wonderful. And what did you learn from the director, our young director of 24?
Aneesh is very present, and he is on top of everything and organized, and yet, is right there with the actors, and so that's a very difficult balance. Especially, I think he had more work to do than most directors, because the stuff that we shot on the day was only a piece of the whole movie. He had so much work to do in terms of creating the worlds after we were done. So I don't know. He was just a workhorse.
I'm excited to see the film. Thanks for speaking with me.
Thank you.
And finally, I got to speak with Debra Messing on working with Aneesh and why she was willing to go into a completely new kind of film venture and try something completely different. Of course, shortly thereafter, we also get into a bit of Will and Grace. I decided not to edit out anything from our interview so that you can just hear how personal and kind, really, Debra Messing is. Hi, Debra. I'm Elysabeth.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Thanks for speaking with me.
My pleasure.
So obviously you have a long-standing career in TV.
Yes.
And of course movies as well, but it's been a little while since you've been in a feature. What would made you want to hop into this feature with a new director?
I read the script and I immediately knew I was in uncharted territory, and it was very, very exciting to me. I saw Aneesh's work that he had done for Google, and I was really taken by his ability to make these 2-minute commercials emotional and rich. And I just felt like, he is going to expand the vocabulary of filmmaking and what is allowed in filmmaking, and I want to be a part of it. And I was like, I don't know if it's going to work. I don't care if it works. I just want to be a part of it.
Wow, how exciting. So, of course, other exciting news, you're back with Will and Grace,
Yes.
and I know that must feel so great. Tell me a little bit about how it felt to be coming back home.
Oh my gosh, it was at first incredibly surreal, because it did feel like we had just been asleep and just woke up and it was the next day. We really just fell right back into it. And there is just, I think, a sense of gratitude among all of us to have this opportunity to come back 11 years later. We all have lived a lot in those 11 years and done different things creatively, and we've brought new things back. And I think we're better than we ever were.
Doesn't that feel great?
It does.
Congratulations to you. Of course, before too long, we also started talking about the March, because of course it was going on at the same time as the first weekend of Sundance. In addition to discussing the March, she also gives a little bit of advice to young women.
The march was yesterday and the Me Too movement is stronger than ever. I wondered if you had any comments on this.
I have tremendous hope for 2018. I feel like, the march yesterday, 1 million people across the country, coming out in huge numbers. We see this, women are 2 to 1, signing up to run for a public office. I think that this is not a moment, this is a movement. And I really believe that change is coming, and being in the meetings with Time's Up, there is a vast, expansive plan, and we're just at the beginning, and I really believe that that everyone realizes that this is a call to arms. Men and women, in every industry, I think are realizing that we have to reassess all of our ideas about gender and equality. And I'm excited to be alive at this time right now.
Me too. Last thing, what advice would you give to your younger self or young women coming up today?
Know your strength.
Thanks for speaking with me.
Thank you.
Okay, people, you have your marching orders. Go see the film Search. As of the recording of this podcast, Search did not yet have a distribution deal, but it is just a matter of time. So when it comes to the theaters, do yourself a favor and get a big fat ticket. As always, you can subscribe to my podcast on iTunes and YouTube at The Celebrity Dinner Party with Elysabeth Alfano. And check out my other YouTube channel at Fear No Art with Elysabeth Alfano. You can, of course, find me on Facebook under my name, and then there's always Twitter and Instagram at Dinner Party CHGO. And let's not forget, I also, of course, have a website, thedinnerparty.tv. The editor on this podcast is David Craig. Stay tuned, folks, because there's lots more Sundance news to come. Until then, don't forget to be vegan.